And welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and this is the second hour of Money Talk with Melanie. And my guest for the second hour is Mr. John Rayner. He is the founder of John Rayner TV, and he's a global entrepreneur. Not only is he an entrepreneur, he's a speaker, advisor, and author. I'm very excited to have him on the show today for the second hour. And how are you? I'm going to just go ahead and introduce you. How are you this evening?
Good, Melanie. How are you?
I'm awesome. I love people with awesome accents. I just have to say that. I know that's lame. Like I realize as an American that that's lame for me to say that, but I just do.
Look, that's okay. I'm somewhat of a hybrid, having spent a lot of time in the UK and then Australia and Latin America, putting aside obviously international travel for business. So forgive me for being a hybrid.
Oh, no. This is perfectly good. I'm excited to have you on a show. Shout out to our mutual friend Josh for connecting us. I appreciate it very much. So I'd love for you to start off by giving the audience a little bit about your background. You do a whole lot of different things. As I said in the opening, you are a global business entrepreneur, a speaker, advisor. You're also an author. I'm going to quickly post a link to your website in the Facey chat. And for those of you who are listening out there in SHR Media Land, or if you're listening to this as a podcast download later on, it is John Rayner TV, John Rayner.tv, and Rayner is spelled RAYNER, John JOHN, RAYNER.TV. And I'm going to place the link in the Facey chat. But give us a little bit about your background, if you would.
Well, Melanie, just a snapshot. I'll start with the end in mind. Right now, my team and I, we help clients to boost their business 3 to 7 times within 18 months. And Melanie, that's when we're working with companies that are probably more recently established. They're more than likely small to medium business, somewhere between the $1 million and $10 million revenue generation space, and obviously playing in that sandpit by bringing in the right strategy, by bringing in the best type of digital marketing and automated sales and client service systems. It's very, very, very easy these days to boost a business 2, 3, 4, even more times within that time period I mentioned, 18 months. And to answer your question, all of that's based on a long career. Started in engineering, but then found that wasn't my forte. So it was 20 years ago I got involved in more corporate marketing and sales, and then 18 years ago became a public speaker for business and trainer. I started my entrepreneurial path 18 years ago, and without going through the details of 18 years, where that's led me to now is having started 4 companies which currently operate internationally. 2 of them are professional services. One of them targets and serves Fortune 500 companies and multinational companies. The second professional services business, like I just mentioned, JohnRayner.tv, we're now working with smaller size companies generating $1 to $10 million so that we can really boost their efforts and their results. Experience in retail. I have a great retail business in Latin America, and then online have a great e-commerce business where we're making profits every day, or money whilst we sleep, because we're selling products out of Asia to 26 different countries that can speak English, whether it be first, second, or third language. But putting that aside, I think I've been blessed and fortunate over the last 2 decades almost to have worked with some of the best companies, international companies, their leaders, their strategic thinkers. So what we do now, Melanie, is we're able, we being my team, to transfer all that's been learned collectively for 2 decades with, like I said, some of the best leaders. It's definitely not my intelligence. I say I'm a great plagiarist. I take what works and just apply it to clients these days, and we see some significant results. I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And that makes a lot of sense. I am wondering, I have a friend who's an engineer, and I'm wondering how you get from engineering. It takes a lot of education and dedication to become an engineer, and then you decide, meh, not for me.
Melanie, it's a funny story. I'll tell it quickly. I was born in '73, giving my age away, and back in the 70s and 80s, obviously all learning, especially in London, England, basically it was about 99.9% audio dominated. You'd listen to the lecturer, I called them, or the teacher at the front of the room, and expected to embrace what they were saying. Well, I didn't remember anything. I'm highly visual, and I'm highly kinesthetic. Means if I'm not personally involved, if I'm not practically involved in the learning process, I would leave the room. So I would literally go to the bathroom 4 times per an hour class. It got to the point where, believe it or not, Melanie, I got expelled at the age of 15 and a half for causing too many problems. So basically, the school allowed me back in 6 months later to take exams, which I failed miserably. My parents panicked. My dad was an engineer, so he got me into a situation where I was able to start an apprenticeship where you have to study for 4 years. You have to obviously give your time, your life to that company for the next 4 years. So look, it was a good discipline to learn, don't get me wrong, but after 7 years of engineering, that meaning 4 years of study and 3 years of application, my my supervisor sat me down in a performance review and said, John, you're not the worst. This guy was about 63 years of age at the time. He said, John, you're not the worst engineer I've ever had the displeasure of working with in the last 40 years, but you're in the top 3 categories. I realized that wasn't, I'm serious. I'm still attending counseling as we speak. And so I realized that wasn't my path or my trajectory towards success. And having moved to Australia in '96, I decided to cut my ties with engineering. And Melanie, I got involved in marketing and sales, which I had never done before. And interestingly enough, within 6 months, I'd become the top salesperson or performer across the nation or the Asia Pacific region. So I thought, maybe there's something to this. And of course, the story continues from there.
Excellent. That's great. And, you know, and I'm a recovering school teacher, secondary school and professor. And, you know, tell the kids, listen, your first career, I know it's not that it's not a major decision. Of course it is. But it's a decision that you may not stick with. So don't like put too much pressure on yourself to pick this career because it's likely to change. And, you know,
absolutely,
you know, because we change as people, and, you know, we change as to what's important to us and what we think sounds like a great idea in application, not so much.
Look, I agree, but I also think, Melanie, we're living in such wonderful times. You know, obviously, long gone are the days where maybe like my father and grandfather once stayed in the same trade, possibly the same country, city, even local area, you know, doing the brick and mortar business or whatever their profession was at the time. You know, we're in a time now where the world has become so small. Obviously through digital marketing and otherwise. I mean, I feel like I'm behind the curve, don't get me wrong. My companies do very well and they're very profitable. But you know, I'm just shy of 46 years of age, and I love it. I love it when I, you know, have people that I know who are 20 to 30 years of age, literally making millions of dollars a year, sitting almost in their underwear in their grandmother's or their mother's, you know, basement. Because they're able to reach the world now and they can quickly assess whether what they're doing is right for them. And obviously, if one does know what their passion is, even at a young age, instead of being hindered by the obstacles of the path, there are no obstacles today. And Melanie, I say this now in conferences. I've been public speaking and conference speaking for, like I said, 18 years, best part of 20 years. And I say to people now, wholeheartedly, I say to people sincerely, I say two things. There's never been a better time. There has never, ever been a better time to start or grow a business as the time that we're living in now. And Melanie, I also think there should be legislation to make it criminal to fail in business, because it is very, 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 or let me put it another way. It's much easier today than any time in my last 18 years of entrepreneurship to do business.
And I believe you. We have access to so much information, and there's businesses. I mean, there are literally businesses that will help you build businesses like yours that will help you.
Exactly.
That will help you. So let's talk a little bit about that business and how it is that you do this. I was intrigued when I was doing a little research for the show, and I was on your website, and it says build your business 3 to 7 times within 18 months. Now that sounds too good to be true. That sounds like an infomercial. That just sounds crazy. Okay, that just sounds nuts. So
look, I understand, but it's very, very simple, especially when now JohnRayner.tv is focusing towards, and we're only serving, like I said, small organizations which are already established. They're generating at least $1 million of sales, somewhere between $1 million and $10 million, which means they've proven their concept. They've proven they have a product or service that works. But you know, and I know, Melanie, most of these small business operators, they're not sleeping. There's too many things to try and manage. They have a lot of information, but less comprehension, meaning how all the moving parts fit together.
Yes.
And then even less application. I do a daily social media video 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. That's on my JohnRayner.tv website or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube. And recently I did a post. It was just a short video, 5 minutes, about the 3 stages of learning. And this is from the sages of thousands of years ago who said there's only three steps of learning. Number 1 is information, and we all have a lot of that because we're living in the age of access to information. Number 2 is comprehension, where you actually understand how all that information fits together. And number 3 is the application, and that person is called wise. And Melanie, to answer your question, what was concerning me more and more, like I said, we've worked in the Fortune 500 and large business space for nearly 20 years. They've got massive budgets, they've got massive resources, and in fact, sometimes it's hard to squeeze into those spaces because they've already got a training manager, they've already got a motivator, they've already got a marketing specialist, they've already got teams of people. But what I noticed was that many entrepreneurial friends or many business associates who are running, reasonable companies, $5, 10, 15, $20 million in revenue, I was watching these people working themselves to the bone all hours of the day and night. And I noticed something which I think is a trend for most entrepreneurs or small business owners, and that is that they have a lot of information, Melanie. They've been watching every single mentor on Facebook and social media and YouTube. They've been to multiple conferences. I was speaking with someone who's a new client recently out of North America. This person boasts, I don't think it's a good boast, they boast of having been to every major conference. If I said the names, you would know them, of the speakers. They've been to every major conference. They've spent nearly $100,000 in the last 2.5 years on education, information, and over dinner, you can actually have a very mature conversation about comprehension. They kind of get how the parts fit together. But here's the key. In the last 2.5 years, guess how much of that information and comprehension they've applied? And here's the thing, Melanie, this person's running a $5.5 million business. That might sound interesting to some, but here's the challenging part. Over the last 2.5 years, their revenue hasn't increased, but their costs have. So all that's really happened is they're doing more work, yet they're earning less profit. That doesn't sound smart to me.
It's not. It's not smart at all. And yeah, it reminds me a lot of myself, especially when, one of the great things about doing this show is that I have people like you and people like my guest the last hour. I have access to all this fantastic information. And while I'm talking to my guests, I'm going, oh yeah, I'm doing that. Oh yeah, I'm definitely doing that. Oh yeah, I'm writing that down. I'm going to go back and listen to this show, and I'm doing that for my business. Ask me how much of the stuff that I've learned I've done. So, I can relate.
I won't ask live, but I could guess the answer.
Yeah.
If you're like me and everyone else. But here's the key, Melanie. Here's the key. I could sit back and watch what's not happening for entrepreneurs and small business owners, or I could pull a team of people together, which we have based in the US. I could pull a team of people together, and these are my team that not only build my companies and make them successful and profitable, but now what we do is we don't consult, as you know, is just giving information and strategy to people. We don't just conference speak, which is, sometimes a lot of motivation and some strategy, but let's be really honest, most people walk out of the room pumped for a few hours and then that dies off quickly until your next cup of coffee. But ultimately, we now work with serious clients who are prepared to pay well, because we're bringing in a team to do everything from, and I won't mention everything that we do. There's not enough time now. However, to just, touch on the key points, we look at the branding, we look at the attraction of, we look at the digital marketing and their social media assets, we look at their product and service, or how that's being sold well or not well. We look at the engagement, we look at the targeting, and then of course we put into place and we build all of this for our clients, whether it means to rebrand or to improve upon what they've got. Or some companies, it's amazing to me how some of these companies earning 2, 3, 4, 5 million really have shocking architecture in terms of their digital marketing and their sales processes and automated sales and client service structures. And so back to your earlier thought about infomercial with my slogan, boost your business 3 to 7 times within 18 months. Not only have I done that with our own companies, 4 companies over the last years, but more importantly, we do that now with our clients, and our clients are shocked that it takes us usually with a month of strategy and then 2 months of structure or restructure. That's 3 months. Then we go into what's called omnipresent marketing mode for about another 3 months. Every case is different. Every project is different, but this is typically the case. So within about 6 months, Melanie, the clients not only see their business looking, feeling, and engaging better, targeting better, retargeting better, but they actually start to see the money coming through the door quickly. This is not an investment where, one looks towards 2 and 3 years to get their money back. They start to see improved revenue and sales after that 3 month mark of strategy and restructure or structure. And it's fascinating to watch client faces where they literally see their revenues and their profits going up. And of course, when we do get involved with the client, it's not just around the digital marketing and the sales and the client service. There's enough collective experience that we look at ways to minimize costs and boost profits and cash flow.
That's incredible. And I find nowadays, and talking to some of I had a guest on in the last week or so who does the credit side of business. Actually, he's a new Money Talk with Melanie sponsor, Mr. Credit. I'm going to get my sponsor's name right. Mr. Credit Repair.biz. But one of the things we talked about is how a lot of people, in a lot of businesses really want the kind of service where somebody else can do the tedious work for them, for their business, or even for their personal, life. And this is what you're talking about, because in order for a business owner to do what it is that you're doing is very tedious and time consuming, and it can't necessarily focus on what their craft is, on what their actual business is. Because the business side of your business is completely different than, at least in my opinion, is completely different than whatever service it is that you're providing. If I'm making sense.
Oh, absolutely. And look, it's really interesting to me because there's two types of small business entrepreneur that we're helping, or company that we're helping now. One is the person who wants to be a thought leader. They've got decades of experience and they realize that they need to be a voice in their market, whether it be locally or globally. And it's funny, Melanie, because I'll sit down with these people and talk, or maybe we talk over Zoom or some type of video chat, and they're telling me that I'm not consulting to them. They're telling me this is what I need. This is what I need to do. I have the education. I have the information. I have the comprehension. I just don't have the time or the wherewithal. I don't have the resources in terms of people to do it. And it's amazing to me how many of these people say, John, I did try in the last 2 years, and I worked with some people, or I got some people who said that they were specialists on board, but ultimately they lost time and money because the people who claim they're specialists aren't so. The second group is obviously where you've got an entrepreneur or business leader who's got a physical an actual company that they need to grow. So there's the thought leaders who want a personal brand and personal presence online that we help, and then you've got the company. But look, I myself, over the last years, Melanie, I have wasted tens of thousands of dollars by engaging people who said that they were specialists. And by the way, I wasn't even using the cheaper ones, where you get what you pay for.
Right.
I actually had a legal situation in Latin America with one of my companies last year, because we actually got in the top. So they present themselves as the top digital marketing business across the nation I was working in. And we ended up in a legal suit because what should have taken 2 months to build for us took them 3.5 months, and the system crashed 3 times. We had egg on our face. So when I bring my team to a client, albeit an entrepreneur or thought leader or a company that wants to boost and grow 3 to 7 times in 18 months, it's a relief for them when they don't have to even consider looking for the right provider, gaining multiple proposals, and then basically crossing their fingers, hoping that their dollar's going to be well spent.
Exactly. That is extremely true, and even that is time consuming. Even that part is time consuming on the, and I was beginning to realize that and provide certain, those services for my sponsors who, I of course sell, ad buys and things like that for this show. And, I started to provide, the services of putting together ads for them and stuff because they didn't have them. And they didn't know how to get them. And that was something I already knew how to do. You fill in gaps, that's how capitalism works. You find gaps in the market and you fill them. So, but people don't have time for that, especially if it's not their area of expertise. So, that is what you do. And nobody has time to hunt around and find someone who's good, and you're really taking a chance. And then there are those people that you have to be aware of, like you were just saying, who will, sometimes businesses will create price points, high price points, to give the impression that is what the demand structure is. And it sounds like that's what that company did to you. Like, they priced their services really high to give people who are looking for services the impression that we're just that good. So that's
absolutely. And look, I'm thinking of right now we've got some clients on board who a couple who are just wanting personal branding and wanting to be their name to be known as a business. And then, of course, there's other companies that we serve who are actual companies and company brands. But especially for those who want to just build the personal brand, again, like they can tell me what to do. They have the information, they have the comprehension. However, the biggest relief for them, and especially a couple of the clients, I've known them for more than a decade. The funny thing is, I worked with them in my other professional services company that serves corporations, and these executives or directors are now saying to me, "Hey, John, you've worked with my company for years. Now can you help me as an individual become a thought leader or build a personal online brand?" And the biggest relief for them, Melanie, is the fact that because my team, and I get it, we've got Chad Dyke. Chad is an incredible strategist in his own right. He's got an MBA in his own right. He's got a degree in computer science. He's ex-IBM technical consultant. So this guy's phenomenal. He's our project manager for the team. This guy's phenomenal in not only understanding the strategy, understanding the elements of business, and what works and doesn't. He understands the marketing, and then he gets the technical. So when he's overlooking the team of people who are actually building the technical and applying the technical on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, nothing gets past him. And I've realized unless you've got that type of quality, either in your team and they're on salary, or whether engaging a business like JohnRayner.tv to do it for your company, then you're not only going to lose a lot of physical or potentially lose a lot of physical funds. I can't tell you how much more money I lost over the last years in choosing the wrong people in terms of opportunity costs because of the time that was wasted.
And that right there is the nail on the head, what you just said about opportunity costs. And a lot of people don't think about that. And that is big in business. And considering that, regularly, what is the opportunity cost? I read a book one time called, I think it's called Organization for Dummies. Ironically, I lost that book, but that's another story. I just tell that story all the time because I think it's just hilarious that I can't find my Organization for Dummies book, but I need to order it again. But one of the things that it talked about was opportunity costs and like whether or not you should hire people, like making the decision of whether or not to hire someone to do something for you or doing it yourself, and the opportunity cost involved and how you determine that. That's how I determined that I needed to get a cleaning person. So
absolutely.
What do you get paid? And the basic formula was, well, what do you get paid an hour? How long does it take you to clean the house? Does it take more than that? Does it cost more than that to clean the house? If it does, hire someone and do something else.
Well, Melanie, look, some of your audience, I'm sure, of business owners or at least business leaders, they'll understand the nature of opportunity costs. I personally, like I said, with 4 companies under my belt currently, let's just say that time literally is of the essence, as it is for all of us. We're all very time precious. But, at this stage of my career and development, I don't really have a minute to waste, or I should say I don't want to. And I know that many people talk about this. I know that it's very, very standard, but it's quite scary. It's quite scary how much time and money people waste. I even gave you the example of the company in North America that's, sitting on $5 to $6 million a year in revenue, which all sounds very good at a dinner party or over a barbecue, until you realize that they're not improving in their sales, they're not improving in their systems and their resources, and obviously their costs are going up and their profits are going down.
Exactly. We are right up against a break, and when we come back on the other side of the break, I want you to talk to us about, I want you to give away the store, so to speak, but I do want you to touch on just some of the services that you provide that help build businesses specifically, and then I want to move on to some other things that you do in your business. Does that sound good?
Great. Thanks, Melanie.
Absolutely. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest this hour is John Rayner, and he is talking to us about how to boost your business 3 to 7 times within 18 months. He's a global entrepreneur, speaker, advisor, and author. Very, very insightful conversation. Enjoying it quite a bit. I hope you are too. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Right now, you can get the credit you deserve. Just visit MrCreditRepair.biz. Let their expert credit repair specialists remove late payments, charge-offs, collections, even old bankruptcies fast and easy. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Why go anyplace else? Increase your credit score today. At Mr. Credit, you always get a quality service, all at our everyday discounted price. Stop getting turned down for cars, credit cards, or even new homes. Visit MrCreditRepair.biz today. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Your credit repair is our #1 priority.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Miller. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's nurturing together, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Flynn. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only, all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chenum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday, from 7 to 9 a.m., right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Our guest this hour is Mr. John Rayner. He is the owner and founder of JohnRayner.tv. He's a global entrepreneur and speaker, author, advisor, and he's telling us about how we can grow our business with 3 to 7 times within 18 months. That's what his company does. That's what their specialty is. He has several. If you go to his website, I posted it in the Facey chat. And for those of you who are listening as a podcast or you're listening on SHR Media, you can get to his website at JohnRayner.tv. That's JohnRayner.tv, and check out his website. And welcome back, Mr. Rayner. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the tips, without giving away the store, because obviously if you want to be a client and get the deets, got to be a client. But what are some of the tips, some of the things that you advise your clients to do to help boost their business?
Well, obviously, the answer will be dependent on the industry, company, product, and service. But if I was to stay focused on the keys that we talk about, number one, Melanie, is to be raw. Number two, relevant. Number three, real. Number four, exposure. And last but not least, definitely not least, engagement. Obviously, raw, relevant, real, exposure, and engaging have their own subheadings, and we could go into depth in each of those areas, but they kind of speak for themselves. And here's the irony today, that the majority, you understand, Melanie, that the majority, I'm talking about, well, statistics say that 95% of business or more globally is not using digital marketing and social media and surgically targeting and retargeting their best type of avatar or audience in order to bring in the dollars.
That is a stunning statistic. That's a stunning statistic. I can't believe that it's that high. Did people just learn, that the internet...
Remember, the key here is effectively.
Okay.
You know and I know that there are multiple companies who can say, well, look, I've got digital assets, I've got a website. Well, let's just look at that. Typically, websites are a waste of time online for most companies. Many companies will say, well, I've got a Facebook page. Let me give an example with a new client of ours we took on. After many, many years and having paid a different digital marketing so-called specialist $175,000 over the last 3 years, they've got 3,500 Facebook followers, and they testify, this is the company we're working with now, we secured the contract, they testify that to their knowledge they've got no work from their digital media assets. Do they have a Facebook page? Yes. Is it effective? No. Is it engaging? No. Does it monetize? No. Do they have, do other companies have Instagram? Possibly yes. Do other companies have, it's interesting, I was looking at a Prospect's digital assets recently, and they boast many, many people on their Instagram. So they beat their chest, Melanie. They beat their chest. So they've been using a provider to get them lots of followers. But here's the irony: because they're not surgically targeted, they've got hundreds of thousands of followers. But if you see the posts, they're absolutely irrelevant, if you ask me. Then no, I'm serious, and they're not engaging, and therefore here's the irony: there's not a provable and tangible return on investment or ROI based on the digital asset. So my point is that apparently more than 95% of companies statistically are supposedly not effective, even if they have digital assets. And all I can say is this: with the type of clients that we attract, they do beat their chest saying, "Look at what I have," and they don't like me. It's like a doctor, isn't it? When the doctor presses on your pain point, you don't like that moment of the journey or the relationship, but you look forward to the medication. So ultimately, it's one thing to have certain assets, but that doesn't mean they're demonstrating or they're providing a return on investment.
That does make sense. That does make sense. I mean, yeah, that does make sense. And listen, and I find it, because I at least have some awareness, I just apply it to myself. I have an awareness that these are things that I should be looking at. I have an awareness, that I should be looking at the analytics and examining the engagement and stuff like that. Now, do I know what to do about it? Right now, it's trial and error. I'm looking at the analytics and I'm like, okay, well, let me change the way I targeted, that last ad and try something else, because I did not get out of it what I wanted to get. I don't know if other entrepreneurs have this issue. But one of the issues that I have on my show and with my marketing is that when I target ads for engagement, 70% of my audience are male. And and I tend to get inquiries that are not business related.
Right. I guess they're not looking for interior design consultancy.
Yeah, something like that.
Grocery shopping consultancy.
Yes, not financial services, which is what, or for an ad buy on my show or something like that. So I and I'm like, I'm like, is it something that I'm saying? Because I don't, I was not advertising for a date, and yet this is what.
Well, Melanie, look, we've got one of our retail company. We surge it because it's a brick and mortar business, and because it provides a food product which you cannot send across the country, or you cannot send across waters internationally. We've been over the last years very, very surgically targeted in the Instagram following. But here's the wonderful thing: even though we boast about 10,000-11,000 followers, they're very, very close to our brick and mortar business, and that monetizes because many of those people actually visit our juice bar, 100% healthy juice bar, and they actually purchase our product and they gain the benefits of. Now, our e-commerce business, we target 26 different countries, and very, very clear on how we target. And of course, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who see our ad and engage with our ad, and then obviously people buy online. That's wonderful, making money whilst you sleep. But my point is, like any of your listeners who have had a bad accountant, because if the accountant, for example, isn't keeping up with the IRS's changes to policies and rules on a monthly basis, you can lose a ton of money. I just had a friend lose about $135,000 because their accountant missed one change of their national taxation department. Lost $135,000. That might be a drop in the ocean to some, but to other people that might be a chunk of change. But just because that accountant didn't keep up with what is real today. Now, why is that important? For your listeners who are even trying to comprehend how this entire digital marketing world works, guess what? Facebook, like the IRS, they're changing their policies and their procedures and their laws and their regulations on a monthly basis too.
Yep.
So what my team does is, as much as applying the rules and the regulations, they're also looking at those daily and making sure they've got a good grip on them, as does a good accountant, which is why you get what you pay for. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And just to expand on that for the benefit of the audience, and this question has popped up a few times, and there are some memes that talk about things, for example, things like liking your own posts on Facebook. There are memes that make fun of people liking their own posts. And I'm not even sure if this applies anymore, but at one point, Facebook algorithms were set up so that when you like your own posts, it gives you more exposure. The post will be seen more when you like your own post rather than you not liking your own post. But there are people who are unaware of that nuance of Facebook algorithms and make fun of people who like their own posts as if it doesn't make any sense. So that's just kind of like a simplified, example of that. And why a company like yours is important, because, you keep track, and Facebook changes their algorithms all the time. And you need to be aware of that. And what business person who's busy out there, always honing in on their craft. I'm trying to keep track of, financial service compliance issues and, my media part. And that's the craft that I work on, and trying to make sure I pronounce all my words correctly and enunciate and things like that. Do I have time to keep track of, Facebook and Instagram algorithms on a regular basis?
Of course not. And look, this is why, excuse me, this is why recently I'm doing a series of videos on leveraging, or how your business can leverage social media. If people visit johnrayner.tv and click in the menu on the videos option, then they'll get to see those videos on there. Look, we have some clients, Melanie, because of the surgical targeting or the type of demographic they're targeting, who we don't even recommend Facebook. I mean, Facebook, to even start talking about Facebook, which is a universe of its own, literally a universe of its own, we'll be here till next week without much sleep. And that's only one social media platform. So if people are interested in, more of the best targeted demographics for each an individual platform, go to johnrayner.tv and click on videos. And there's some great information there. But coming back to understanding the essence or how the social media platforms work, that's not what a business owner is supposed to be focused on, right? That's not their best opportunity cost.
Exactly.
Therefore, our team take over. And look, I only started johnrayner.tv 2 months ago. As I said to you, a different professional service company I have. We've been serving Fortune 500 and international companies for 18 years. Wonderful, wonderful client base. Some of the best leaders across Asia Pacific and North America and England, and some companies in South America. That's one thing, but johnrayner.tv only started 2 months ago. But I am very, very cautious in advertising spend. And aside from, our daily Facebook and daily Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube, aside from that, we are currently targeting state by state and putting out very, remember I said to you, raw, relevant, real exposure and engaging adverts?
Yes.
And it's wonderful, because one thing that social media platforms, especially Facebook, does allow you to do is be more targeted than ever at a very, very low cost compared to old-fashioned marketing tools.
Yes.
or mediums. And so what we do, for example, we're running a workshop, a seminar, a one-day seminar in Phoenix, Arizona in the first week of December. So right now, Melanie, with my team, they're doing all the designs, they're doing all the promotions, they're running all the algorithms, they're doing everything they can. So what people don't see behind the scenes is that even if your standard Facebook page, business page, or your Instagram doesn't have millions and millions of followers, that is not important. What is important is what monetizes. So my team right now on a daily basis, we're putting out videos, but we're paying Facebook and we're paying other platforms to target entrepreneurs and business leaders of small business in the Arizona state only. And then after about 30 days of what I call plowing the ground, we will sow the seed mid-November. We will sow the seed by then targeting those who have been looking at our adverts, clicking on the adverts, watching the videos, visiting our website. We can see exactly who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what time you're doing it. Not we personally, but obviously Facebook allows us to do that.
Right.
And then guess what we do? We're right now seeing wonderful results with thousands of people seeing our videos each day. This is aside from our following. So remember, I have business associates who boast millions of people in their following, but they're not monetizing. But it's far wiser to have a less following, but monetizing. It is actually even wiser to have a bigger following and more monetization. But my point is, the people in Arizona, when they start to see the targeted ads in mid-November, then of course we just focus on working with those, and then we invite them to the event. They come to the event, and there's other things that happen. When have we lived in a time, business speaking, when have we lived in a time where I could be traveling around the world and still running other companies, doing other things, clients, providers, etc., and yet be able to have success in the state of Arizona? And once that is completed, we do the same thing, and we overlap in then the state of Florida and then the state of Washington, and the list goes on.
That's incredible and so very smart. I want to make sure that we mention a couple of things before we close the show. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh no! You have a new book entitled Confident, Powerful, and Persuasive Public Speaking. And that can be downloaded for free within johnraynor.com. So I want to make sure.
JohnRaynor.tv.
I'm sorry. My first time reading today. JohnRaynor.tv on JohnRaynor.tv. And you can also book John for any business, conference, and event by visiting the same site, JohnRaynor.tv. Finally, you can book a free 21-minute advice session by visiting the same site, johnraynor.tv. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned all of that. I've posted the link twice in the Facey chat. And for those of you who are, that's a tremendous offer too, John. I appreciate that. And for those of you who are in SHR Media Land or have downloaded this as a podcast, it's johnraynor.tv, JohnRayner.tv. You definitely want to check out his website so you can check out all of those offers. It's a beautiful website, moves very quickly. It's very clear. I love a good website. I just love a good website. I do. I love, you go on some websites and you're like, what is this? And then but your website is just really beautifully done. Celeste in the Facey chat says thank you so very much, and she's on your website right now and loves the information that you have provided there. So she said she loves the aesthetics of your website. She's a regular listener and one of my besties. So. So she loves your site. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's wonderful, Melanie. You're a great host. Obviously, you're gifted at what you do, and thanks for all the good that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show. Fantastic information. I think I probably will be scheduling an appointment with you soon. So.
Very kind. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you very much. You have a great weekend.
Likewise.
All righty.